Alright guys, this is question MM041 of the Maths Methods Sharpened Study Guide. The function g of x equals 3x cubed plus dx squared take 4 will have an inverse function 4. Now, the thing that we have to discuss is why would an inverse function's domain need to be restricted? And the answer is this. An inverse will only exist for a function as long as the domain of the original function is restricted such that the inverse function will be a one-to-one function. So I'll repeat that. The domain of the original function, d, must create an inverse function that is one-to-one. And what I mean by that is if we were to have the whole domain of this original function and create an inverse out of that, this would actually create a one-to-many function. So what that means is we would have one x value with two y values, which isn't actually defined as a function. So what we need to do is we need to restrict the domain somehow to create only a one-to-one function when we inverse it. So basically, we can't have a many-to-one function in the original because that will create a one-to-many function in the inverse. So basically, we need to restrict the original to a one-to-one function as well. The way that we do that is we work out where the turning points are. So again, if you've watched a couple of the other videos, I would sketch this on your calculator, 3x cubed plus 2x squared take 4, and look at where the turning points are, and that will give you a bit of a clue as to how to restrict this domain. I would actually just go through each one of these options. It wouldn't take very long, and just see which one would work. So if our domain of the original function was negative infinity to 0, that means it would be everything on this side up to x equals 0. Now, that would mean that this turning point and this section here is actually part of that domain, which is a many-to-one function, which wouldn't create a one-to-one inverse function. So A is not the correct answer. B, negative infinity to 0 non-inclusive. So this option was inclusive, this is not inclusive. Same deal, it still involves this section here, which would not create a one-to-one inverse function. C, the domain negative infinity to negative 4 on 9. Negative infinity over here to negative 4 on 9 here, which is where the turning point is. That would actually create a one-to-one function of g of x. Which means that the inverse would be one-to-one, which means that the inverse would exist. So C is actually our answer because that restricts this to a one-to-one function. Let's just quickly look at why the other answers aren't correct either. So negative 4 on 9 to infinity. Negative 4 on 9 to infinity still includes this up and down section here, past the turning point, which creates a many-to-one function, which is not what we want. And again, 4 on 9 to infinity inclusive is still the same as exactly what I just mentioned. So D and E are both not our correct answer, and C is the domain. D is negative infinity to negative 4 on 9 inclusive.